Welcome to my channel, and this is Enjoy with Kitten Story. The name of this story, The Power of the Three Wisdoms. Once upon a time, in a small village nestled deep within a dense forest, there lived a young man named Ethan. Ethan was well known among the villagers for being highly ambitious, always chasing after things that didn't really matter. He sought wealth and fame at any cost, but this relentless pursuit only led to constant disappointment. One day, while walking along the edge of the forest, Ethan met an old man named Alistair. Alistair was renowned for his mysterious wisdom, and people said he had lived in the forest for decades without aging. Ethan approached him and asked, "Alistair, how can I become rich and famous?" Alistair gazed at him deeply and said, "Wealth and fame aren't everything in life, Ethan. You will face many trials on your journey. Are you prepared to endure them?" Ethan laughed mockingly and replied, "Of course. I'll do anything to get what I want." Alistair smiled and said, "Very well. Your journey begins today. There are 3 tests you must pass, and if you succeed, you'll gain what you seek. But remember, true success doesn't lie in what you think it does. It lies in what you will learn from these trials." Thus, Ethan embarked on his journey into the unknown parts of the forest, where Alistair had told him the trials would begin. The air grew colder as the trees closed in around him, and the wind whispered ominously through the branches. The first test, the dark cave. After hours of walking, Ethan arrived at a deep, dark cave. The entrance looked like the gaping mouth of a hungry beast. Beside the cave stood an ancient stone tablet with the inscription, "To achieve your desire, you must face your fears." Ethan knew he had to enter the cave, even though fear began to creep into his heart. Taking a deep breath, Ethan stepped inside. The deeper he went, the darker it became, and strange noises echoed all around him. He could hear whispers and see shadowy figures flickering at the edges of his vision, heightening his fear. But as time passed, Ethan realized that these sounds and images were nothing more than manifestations of his inner fears. When he finally faced those fears and refused to be consumed by them, a light began to seep into the cave, slowly illuminating the entire space. Ethan realized that to move forward in life, he had to conquer his inner fears. With a newfound strength and confidence, he left the cave. The second test, the Bridge of Truth. After leaving the cave, Ethan found himself standing before a raging river. Spanning the river was an old, swaying rope bridge, teetering precariously in the wind. At the edge of the bridge stood a statue of a sorrowful man. Next to it was a sign that read, "The bridge will allow you to cross only if you are truthful with yourself and others." Ethan stood there unsure. He knew that crossing the bridge would take courage, but even more importantly, it required him to be honest. As he pondered his next move, he realized that much of his life had been filled with decisions driven by greed and the desire for fame, without ever being truthful to himself. Admitting to himself that he had been living a false life and that his pursuit of wealth and fame had cost him many valuable things, Ethan stepped onto the bridge. To his surprise, the bridge became more stable and solid with every step. He crossed the river successfully, feeling the profound internal shift that had taken place within him. The third test, the Oasis of Choice. After crossing the bridge, Ethan arrived at a beautiful oasis. Clear waters shimmered, lush trees bore fruit, and the entire place radiated peace and tranquility. In the center of the oasis stood an ancient, towering tree, under which sat a man named Leon. Ethan approached him and asked, "Is this the end of my journey?" Leon smiled and replied, "Not yet. Before you lies the final test, the hardest one. You must choose. Stay here and enjoy peace and comfort forever, or continue your journey and face the challenges of the world outside." Ethan sat and thought deeply. The temptation to stay in this beautiful, serene place was strong. Here, he could escape from all the problems and hardships of life. But deep inside, he knew that true happiness didn't come from running away. It came from facing challenges and learning the lessons life had to offer. Ethan chose to leave the oasis and return to the real world. As soon as he made his decision, the oasis vanished like a mirage, and Leon disappeared into thin air. Ethan realized that comfort and ease were not the ultimate goal, and that he had to strive for true values. The return to the village. When Ethan returned to his village, he was no longer the same person who had left. He had learned that wealth and fame weren't everything, and that true life lay in facing fears, being honest with oneself, and seeking happiness in things that couldn't be bought. He met Alistair once more, who was waiting for him at the edge of the forest. Alistair asked, "You passed the trials, Ethan. Now, what have you learned?" Ethan smiled quietly and replied, "I've learned that true success isn't found in money or fame, but in the person you become along the way." Alistair smiled and disappeared into the air as if he had never existed, leaving Ethan with newfound wisdom and a heart filled with peace. From that day on, Ethan lived a balanced life, not only seeking to fulfill his dreams, but also helping others find their own paths.